The Grammys have seen legends come and go, but when Michael Jackson showed up, the energy in the room changed. People weren't just watching a performance or a speech, they were watching history unfold in real time. In this video, we're going to rewatch the top 5 Grammy moments that proved Michael Jackson was on a completely different level. Not awards, not hype, just real moments that shifted the room and reminded everyone who they were standing in front of. And the first one says everything, because even after he was gone, the Grammys still couldn't escape his presence. Number 5, 1984 Grammys, when the whole world was watching. The 1984 Grammys weren't just another award night, they were an event. Over 51 million people were watching live, which still makes it the most watched Grammy Awards in history.
Quincy Jones and Michael Jackson.
And let's be honest, people didn't tune in for the show itself. They tuned in because of Michael Jackson.
I'm very happy. I'd like to thank Epic Records, the best record company in the world.
Thriller had taken over the planet, and everyone knew this night was going to be different. By the end of the ceremony, Michael walked away with 8 Grammys. Not because of hype, not because of sympathy, but because the music left no room for debate. This wasn't one lucky category or a popularity vote, it was domination across the board. And here's what people forget. These weren't small categories. This was Album of the Year, Record of the Year, Producer of the Year. Different categories, same name getting called. You could see it on the faces in the audience. Some people were clapping, some were stunned, some looked uncomfortable. Because moments like this don't just celebrate success, they show how far ahead he really was. That night, on the most watched Grammy stage ever, the industry had to publicly admit something it didn't like admitting. Michael wasn't competing with other artists anymore. He had moved beyond comparison. But this was only the start. Because in 1986, Michael showed that his power didn't come from trophies or performances. It came from influence. Number 4, 1986 Grammys, when Michael proved power isn't always loud. The 1986 Grammys were different. No moonwalks, no spotlight chase, but Michael Jackson still walked away as one of the most important figures of the night. The charity single We Are the World, which Michael co-wrote with Lionel Richie, won Song of the Year and Record of the Year.
We are the ones who make a better day.
2 of the biggest categories. And this wasn't just a feel-good record. We Are the World sold over 20 million copies worldwide, making it one of the best-selling singles of all time. But the real impact went deeper than numbers. The song raised tens of millions of dollars for famine relief in Africa and turned pop music into a global humanitarian force. Here's what makes this a true Michael Jackson moment. He didn't need to perform.
First, I'd like to thank God.
He didn't need to stand at the center of the room. His ideas did the talking. Getting dozens of the biggest artists on earth to show up, leave their egos at the door, and follow one vision doesn't happen by accident. That takes authority. The Grammys that night weren't rewarding a hit. They were recognizing influence on a world scale. Michael didn't just entertain people, he moved them. And the Grammys were forced to acknowledge that. Number 3, 1988 Grammys, when Michael lost the awards but owned the night. The 1988 Grammys are one of those nights that still don't sit right with me. And if you're a real fan, you already know why. Michael Jackson walked into that ceremony with the Bad Album, a project that had already rewritten history. 5 #1 singles from one album, massive world tour, millions of copies sold worldwide. Bad sold more than many albums that won big that night. And yet, when it came to awards, Michael walked away empty-handed.
Oh my God.
Just to see her, Smokey Robinson.
Let's be real for a second. This wasn't about music quality. This wasn't about impact. This was the industry quietly pushing back. Sometimes when someone becomes too big, too powerful, too impossible to control, the system finds subtle ways to remind them who decides. And 1988 felt like one of those moments. But here's where Michael did something savage. Instead of shrinking, he stepped on stage and reminded everyone why none of that mattered. He performed The Way You Make Me Feel and Man in the Mirror, and the entire energy of the night flipped. The choreography was sharp. The vocals were live. The control was unreal. You could feel the room lean in. People weren't watching an artist chase approval. They were watching someone who had already outgrown it. And this is the part that sticks with me personally. Michael didn't win a single Grammy that night, but he won something bigger. He won the audience, not just in that room, but around the world. That performance became one of the most replayed, talked about Grammy moments ever. Awards come and go, Moments like that don't. 1988 proved something important. Even when the industry said no, Michael Jackson still walked out as the most powerful person in the building. And after that night, the Grammys had no choice but to call him something else entirely. Number 2, 1993 Grammys, when they called him a legend to his face. The 1993 Grammys felt different the moment Michael Jackson walked in.
Present the Grammy Legend Award for 1993, Michael Jackson.
This wasn't about charts or sales anymore. This night was about recognition, and not the kind you give someone at the end of their career. The Grammys presented Michael with the Grammy Legend Award, and what made it hit harder was who handed it to him. His sister, on that stage, in front of the entire industry. And I always say this when I think about that moment. You don't give someone a legend title unless you've already accepted that they changed the game permanently. What's wild is that Michael was still active, still relevant, still dominating globally. This wasn't a goodbye. It was the Grammys admitting publicly that pop music had a before and after moment, and his name sat right in the middle of it. When Michael spoke, he wasn't loud, he wasn't cocky, he was calm, almost soft-spoken, and that made the room even quieter. You could feel the respect, not forced respect, real respect, the kind that happens when people realize they're standing near something rare. For me personally, this moment always hits deeper than wins or performances, because it shows something people don't like talking about. Michael didn't need approval anymore. The industry had spent years benefiting from him, doubting him, pushing back on him, and still, they had to stand up and call him a legend while he was alive. That takes power. This wasn't a celebration, it was an acknowledgement. And the fact that this happened before the controversies, before the rewriting of narratives, makes it even heavier. In 1993, the truth was still clear. Michael Jackson wasn't just an artist, he was the standard. And that sets up the final moment, the one that changed everything. Number 1, 2010 Grammys, when his absence spoke louder than any performance. The 2010 Grammys didn't feel like an award show. They felt heavy, quiet, different, and you didn't need anyone to explain why. Michael Jackson wasn't there, but somehow he was everywhere. The show opened with a 3D tribute built around Earth Song. Not a quick montage, not a background moment. The entire room was forced to slow down and sit with it. The visuals, the message, the silence in the audience. It didn't feel like entertainment. It felt like respect, the kind you can't fake. And then came the moment that hit me personally the hardest. Michael's children walked on stage to accept the Lifetime Achievement Award on his behalf. No music playing under it, no rush, just his kids standing in front of the same industry that had benefited from their father for decades. Most artists get remembered with clips and applause. Michael got an entire room standing still, realizing they had lost something that could never be replaced. The Grammys weren't celebrating a legacy, they were admitting something was gone. And that's why this is the number 1 moment for me, because it proves something uncomfortable. Michael didn't need to be alive, performing, or winning to dominate the Grammys. His work, his message, his presence had already outgrown the system itself. When the show had to reshape its entire opening just to honor him, it said everything. That kind of influence doesn't end. It stays. And when you look back at all 5 moments together, the pattern is clear. Michael Jackson didn't just attend the Grammys, he left a permanent mark on them. That's not legacy. That's immortality. Every one of these Grammy moments hit differently, but one of them always stays with me longer than the rest. I'm curious which one did that for you. Which Michael Jackson Grammy moment still feels powerful when you think about it? Drop it in the comments and let's remember it together.